Here are some essential steps that you want to include in a successfully formatted MLA style essay, and I'm showing you how to do this through Google Docs. So if you have a different word processing program, your settings may be slightly different, but this will still show you all the things you need to incorporate to make sure you're doing it correctly. First and foremost, when using Google Docs, please do not ever submit an assignment as an untitled document. So I'm going to come up here to this box and highlight the title that it has for now, and I'm going to change it to fit the example of the assignment we're doing at the moment. So I'm going to title it Activism Crises Paragraph. That way, when it's submitted, there's no confusion about what the assignment is, and when you're looking through your drive, you're not confused by a bunch of untitled documents floating around. All right, now moving on to the style of the paper, we're going to start with the information about you first. So in the top left, you want to include your name and what we call a heading at school. So fictitious student is going to be my student's name. So that's first and last name. You always want to have both. Shift Enter will make sure there's not a bunch of unnecessary space between all of your lines. Remember, you will double space later. The teacher's name. Oh, typos are fun. That is me. I am Mrs. Spears. The subject is AP or DC. English, language, and composition. And the date. The day I am making this video is the 16th of January, 2020. All right, there's the successfully formatted heading with all the information you need to have. We're going to hit enter and enter again and center. So come up here to this section, hit the center alignment button, and now you're going to make your title. So I'm just going to title this Activism Crises Paragraph like I did at the very top. It matches. Remember in your title, if you reference a short story, letter, news article, or any of that, it needs to be in quotation marks, or if it's a longer text or a movie, like a novel, movie, any of the longer things, that should be in italics. I'm not using one though, so it's just going to be in regular print. Skip back down again, and we're going to move back to the left. Please don't forget to do this, or your entire body of your paper will be center aligned, and that is not correct. It won't look cute. So before we move on to the body, I want to make sure that we are putting our header, which is a slightly different thing, up at the very top. So bring your mouse up to this margin here and double click so that you have this header bar that pops up. You're going to insert a page number. If you click insert here, slide down to page numbers, and then over here you have the page number in the top right of the page. That is proper MLA format. So be sure to click on that so that it is formatted correctly. Sometimes it pops up on the left, but if you hit this right align, it will do it for you. And you want to include your last name. I am using student because my student is the last name I made up here for my fictitious student. Don't put my last name, you put your last name because you are the writer. All right, we're going back down to our body now. Double click back in this bottom section, and I'm going to copy and paste the sample you should have already seen. The font is kind of funky. It doesn't look quite right. So I'm going to highlight all of this, including the heading here. And I'm going to come up to this font box. You see, you hover and the black box says font. You want to select Times New Roman. I use it often, so it's already in my recent list. But if you don't use it often, you just need to slide down. It is by alphabetical order. So Times New Roman, and you want it all to be 12-point font because that's a nice legible size. It's not too big and it's not too small. The Goldilocks of the font sizes, if you will. So that looks nice and uniform and easy to read. The one thing you don't want to forget, though, is you do need to indent your paragraphs. When you're doing it on paper, I always suggest to use your thumbnail because there won't be any confusion about where the paragraph starts and ends. But on a Chromebook or other computer, you always want to hit the tab button, which is on the left side of your keyboard if you're unfamiliar. And that'll give you a nice size indentation that's not too big and not too small. So Now we have our proper formatting with the font and our indentation, but you also want to make sure that you do your double spacing. So I'm highlighting this again. And this little section here with the arrow going up and down, it pops down a thing that says line spacing. Click on that and slide down to where it says double. Once you click it, much better. Now it looks like an MLA style paper. And actually, I put way too big of a space here, so don't be like me. You do not need to have an extra space like that. Also, don't forget, a lot of people forget to change the font size up here in the header section because it's not connected to the rest of it, but that needs to be in Times New Roman and 12-point font as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that here. Excellent. This is looking very nice. This is the example you already saw of this paragraph. So now I'm going to show you how to format the Works Cited page. All right, Control Enter will take you to a new page. You don't have to hit Enter a bunch of times. When you're doing your Works Cited page, you want to give it a title and center align that as well. So Works Cited is all that should be on your title. Don't put Works Cited page. Don't say citations page. Other formats and style guides say to do it differently because that's the way that they work. But this is the MLA approved and perfect version. So make sure that you're using that correctly. We're going to go back to the left now that we've done it. And you can see that our page number is carried over. That's why you always want to make sure you have the page number inserted and not putting the number 1, or every page will say number 1, and that's not what you want. So I am going to copy and paste the citation from the sample you've already seen. This is the article that is referenced in the paragraph above. You can see that Martin Luther King is the author. It is what goes first. And you should always make sure your Works Cited page is in alphabetical order by last name of the author. If for whatever reason there is not an author that you can find attached to the article or book or whatever source you're referencing here, then you do it by the title, okay? So you can see now that this has a hanging indentation. That's what this is called, where the beginning is up next to the margin, but this part is not. And all you have to do to change this is move your arrow and your rectangle and your ruler at the top. This does not work on an iPad. You have to be on an actual desktop or a Chromebook because you have to have the mouse for the ruler to show up and move. I'm not sure why the app looks the way it does, but this setting is not there. So if you come up here to where the paragraph is, you will see that it switches up there because this indent is the other direction. So if you need help learning how to move those yourself, you just drag them. That's all you have to do. But if for some reason it doesn't work correctly, I'm happy to show you in person. Or there are several videos that you can find online that also show you how to do it if that's easier for you to do. If you have any questions about MLA format, or for some reason these settings do not work for you or do not show up for you, or you need help doing this on a different word processing program, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help.